RISAFloor now includes the ability to design rectangular and circular web openings on steel and composite steel beams when using the AISC design code. So to start, I'm going to go ahead and add a web opening. So I'm going to open up my graphical editing, and I'm going to click on the Add or Modify Beams tool. And then here you'll see a new tab called Web Opening. And so if I look at the Web Opening tab, we can start to see the options that are available here. So the first thing we're going to define is our distance from the eye end. If you're not sure where the eye end is, we can go ahead and turn that on very quickly by showing our eye and J ends, and that eye end is the red side of the beam. And so if we go back into that tab, we can go ahead and set our first distance. So in this case, let's go ahead and set a distance of 7 feet. Now I can choose the distance from the top of the beam, so I can either center our opening or I can offset it a distance on my own. Next, I can set a opening size. So I'm going to say our depth here, and we can see this in the picture here, the depth defined by that HO dimension and the width or length defined by that AO dimension. So we're going to make our depth 4 inches and our length 10 inches. We could also define a circular opening with a diameter if we wish. Next, we want to go ahead and define reinforcement. So we can either choose to not reinforce the opening at all, choose to add reinforcement to one side of the opening or to both sides of the opening. And you can see here when we choose reinforcement on either one or two sides, we can choose the width of that reinforcement. So in this particular case, I'm going to choose one side. And let's go ahead and define a width of 1/2 inch. Our thickness of plate in this case will be 1/4 inch. And then let's set our length of 16 inches. Now we're required a certain distance by code to extend beyond the length or the size of the opening. And so we're going to start here with our 16-inch length. Now with this applied, I can go ahead and click to add these openings or this opening to a beam. So I'm going to go ahead and add it to this beam. Now maybe I want to add a second opening to the same beam because I have some electrical conduit or some ductwork running through. So I'm going to right click and click Recall Last Dialog. And I'm going to add the same exact opening. I'm just going to add it at a different place along the beam. And so in this case, let's say 17 feet. Click Apply, and again, click that same beam. Now, if I wanted to make modifications to the openings here, I would go into our data entry and open the beam spreadsheet. And on the Hot Rolled tab, I could go ahead and expand this a little bit, and we see we have a web openings section now. And so if I scroll down and find my purlin here that I was using or my beam here that I was using, I can click on that cell and we can see those two openings that I applied to the beam. So we can change any of the dimensions, we can change the reinforcement, we can make modifications as we see fit. I could also go ahead and double click on the beam at any time into the design tab and actually delete all the web openings off the tab or off the beam if I want to. Now at this point, we've got our design set up for our openings. We also have some load combinations established. In this case, we're doing some ASD design, and I'm going to go ahead and run the solution. So with the solution complete, we can go ahead and look at our design results in a few different ways. The first way is if I go ahead and open up the code check spreadsheet, I can navigate to the web opening tab, and we can see our two openings on our beam here. So we can see opening 1 and 2. The controlling unity check, so this R value unity check is actually an interaction between moments and shears. We can also see the location of that check, the load combination that's controlling, and whether or not we're passing all the miscellaneous and detailing checks. Now, if we want to go ahead and look at this in detail, I can go ahead and click on the Detail Report button and open up our detail report for this composite beam. I'm going to go ahead and expand this a little bit and start scrolling down here until we see our web opening options. So here we can see our web opening, so our kind of defined characteristics for the web opening like we set. We can also start to see all the calculations for non-composite and composite for the top and the bottom T, and for the unity check, and then also all the miscellaneous geometry and detailing checks that are passing. So if there are any errors or warnings, this is where they would show up under this miscellaneous geometry and detailing checks part. This is where we'd see if the geometry of the opening is failing or if we're exceeding top or bottom T shear capacity. Now at this point, we've completed our design, and we could either continue on designing our model or transfer the model to RISA 3D or add additional web openings for design. For more information about web openings in beams, as well as other information about RISAFloor, please visit risa.com.